Hey folks, today we're covering Tinto Flavor 41 and this is going to cover the Netherlands for EU5. This is a little bit different to most of these Tinto flavors. The Netherlands could be formed by multiple different countries. That's not super rare, but they're going to showcase this a little bit more in this dev diary and then also talk about how you can form them as well. So you can see with the first one, this is the County of Holland. This is where most of the content is going to start with. And you can see here the ruler, his stats. You can see the description, the top half of that description. That is the same for all the counties of the Low Country, and then the second half of it, that is where you'll get county or country-specific information, giving you some more information around Holland, or in the next example you can see in Flanders, some information around Flanders, what they've been doing recently, and again you can see the ruler, his stats as well, for this country that can form the Netherlands as well. But they're going to go back to Holland. This is where most of the content is for this area of the world, so you can see the County of Holland, you can see what kind of country they are, you can see their ruler, his stats as well. And then as always, you can see a breakdown of this realm. So their primary culture is Low Franconian, primary religion is Catholicism, 8 locations, 200,000 people, 11 gold a month at the moment, 161 manpower, and then 4 ships as well. And then as always, you can see the breakdown here. Low Franconian, 81%, Frisian, 18%, and then below that, the religious breakdown as well. Nearly all Catholicism. Now, as the game progresses, that may change. Maybe the Protestant Reformation will take hold here. In the next screenshot, you can see this area of the world. You can see Holland, Brabant, Flanders, Frisia, all these different countries that can form the Netherlands, depending on what you do in your campaigns. I'm sure many of you are going to play as Holland, maybe Flanders. Let me know in the comments down below. I think Holland's going to be a popular pick, as we'll see through this dev diary. In the next screenshot, you can see the terrain version of this, showing us the layout of the sea, the coastline, the forests, and all that kind of stuff in this area. And then next, they're going to go into the structural content for these countries. The first thing they're going to show us are the estates for Holland. So you can see the crown, nobility, clergy, burghers, and commoners. This is how they'll look when you start the game. You can see at the top there, 1 out of 2 reforms for the crown. So when you do start as this country, you'll go in and immediately add another reform to this country, depending on what you're trying to do in your campaigns. Maybe you'll focus it towards trade, maybe you'll get more crown power, maybe you'll give some power to the peasants, whatever you want to do as you do start as this realm. Next, they're going to show us some of the unique reforms for this area. You can see the first one here, Frisian freedom, noble power minus 20%, peasant estate satisfaction equilibrium plus 10%, peasant power plus 20%, monthly progress towards free subjects 0.10. So very peasant focused, this one. Taking some power from the nobles and giving it to the peasants. The next one is going to be Brabant's version of this, joyous entry, estate satisfaction equilibrium plus 2.5%, noble power plus 20%, monthly progress towards free subjects plus 10%. So a little bit of a different one here, depending on what you're trying to do, empowering the nobles, but overall your estates are generally going to be happier as well. And then moving you towards free subjects, that's a societal value that has been covered in previous dev diaries. If you don't know what they mean, there are some videos on the channel covering it. Next, they're going to show us some of the advances available to this region. The first one is Hollander Sailors. This is available in the Age of Traditions, and this gives you 10% more sailors. Obviously, this realm leaning into the Navy, probably quite a bit on your campaigns, and this does help you with that. The next thing kind of linked into it as well, Trading Spirit, Age of Discovery, and this is trade range plus 33%. So this just allows you to trade further than you would do usually. The next advance is for Flanders. This is the Flemish cloth. This is available in the Age of Traditions. So this is only available to you if you play as Flanders. This is cloth output plus 33%, fine cloth output plus 20%. This is going to be great for making some money, especially early game. But even as you progress through the eras, these two goods are very profitable usually, and this is going to allow you to make even more money out of it because you're getting more goods for the same amount of income into them. The next advance is going to be for Brabant, the 4 courtiers. This is available in the Age of Traditions as well. Tax efficiency plus 5%, just leaning into the banking side of things. The next one's going to be for Utrecht. This is available in the Age of Renaissance. Invite artist cost minus 10%, monthly religious influence plus 0.10. So leaning into the culture and religious side of things. And then the last one they're going to show us is for Frisia. This is the Legend of Group Pierre, and this is available in the Age of Discovery. Privateer maintenance minus 10%. Can hire privateers? Yes. Privateer durability plus 10%. So leaning into pirating, all that fun stuff you can do. And Frisia, I guess, has a history of that, and that is going to be showcased in the game as well. And then next they're going to show us a map of the culture here. You can see on here all the Netherlandish culture group and where they are spread out in this area. As you can see, mostly focusing around all the ones I've just talked about today, but it does kind of spread out a little bit as well into Germany, France, into Denmark as well. That's going to help you keep things together in your realm, unify it into the Netherlands, and then play on as them as well. Next, they're going to show us some of the unique advances available in this region, and the first one you can see here is polders. And this unlocks, obviously, the polder building. Very famous in this area. This is an infrastructure building. Road building time -5%. Population capacity +2.5%. Food production +5%. Monthly development growth 2.5% better as well. These look really good. You're going to be building these as much as you can, I would imagine. The bonuses there all together are going to help you, especially at the beginning, getting that extra food production. That's going to be really good. And then the road building time, not the best bonus. It's only -5%. But all the other ones as well added together, they're not too bad, and they're really not that expensive either, so you're going to be building these. The next one they're going to show us is Netherlandish shipbuilding. You can see the building this unlocks as well. This is monthly sailors +80, shipbuilding capacity +1, so this allows you to build 2 ships in this location, or more if you stack multiple of these kind of buildings together, and then obviously can build ships here, yes. You can see the production method and the requirements to build it as well. So they're getting a special military building for this area, just showcasing like how they built a lot of ships, and then also giving you a lot of extra sailors as well. And then all the way through this, as we've said, you can form the Netherlands. They're going to show this here, so the formable country. And then when you do this in-game, you'll see those possible advances. These are advances that are unlocked when you form this country. Well, obviously, some of them are in the future when you've unlocked it, but they do list out, hey, you will get these advances in these certain eras. So you can see the 4th, 5th, and 6th era. And you can see below that as well, you need to own at least 20 more locations from the following areas, and obviously they're the areas of the Netherlands historically. And then next they're going to showcase to us some of those advances. So the first one is Dutch art. This is available in the Age of Reformation. Possible number of artists +1, artist monthly start chance +10%. That is if they're not currently creating a work of art, there's more chance of them actually doing that. Otherwise you're basically paying them to just sit around and do nothing. And we generally don't want that happening. And then once that's finished, that will aid you in your cultural side of the game. The next thing they're going to show us is Platoon Fire. This is available in the Age of Absolutism. Combat speed +10%. Correct section chance +5%. And that also unlocks a special unit as well. If you don't know how combat works, that was yesterday's dev diary. So do go back and watch that video. That talked through like how warfare works, how battles work, and how all the different units work as well. But this will unlock a special unit for you. You can see that in the next screenshot. You can see the battle statistics for it, the logistics for it as well, the monthly maintenance, and what you need to recruit them as well. So these are going to be a special unit. You're probably going to build these. The special unit are usually better than the generic version of that unit in this era. They usually are skewed towards certain things, so these ones look pretty good. You're probably going to build these if you can do so. And then the last bit of structural content they're going to show us is a fortified border. This is available in the Age of Revolutions, fort defense +20%. With it being the Netherlands, a lot of realms around it, trying to take land off them, trying to control them, and this is going to help you push back against that. Maybe that'll be from mainland Europe, or maybe even somewhere like England might get above their station and try come over and take over your land as well. But with that out of the way, the next going to move on to the narrative content. And in this region specifically, the biggest disaster is the Hook and Cod Wars. This triggers and its initial effects are quite dynamic depending on what causes it, who causes it, and the succession crisis that is linked to it. And the effects and variables do depend on how it is triggered, how it plays out. And they're going to cover a lot of this here. They do say, though, this was triggered through console commands. So some of the things here won't look exactly how it would look in game. This was kind of like forced into a campaign so they could show it off to us. So do take that into account. And then you can see the first event that will happen, the Hook and Cod Wars. Now, some very nice art here. I do like that, like 2 kings or 2 possible successors fighting each other over the crown. And then the text here, it is a little bit garbled because, as they said, they kind of forced this to happen. But you can side with the Hooks or you can side with the Cods. And you can see what happens if you choose either of those. So the first one is side with the Hooks. You lose 20 stability. We will side with the Hooks, favoring them over the other faction. The Hooks will gain +1 point in the influence score. They haven't talked about that yet. Our nobility will gain 10% estate satisfaction. The burghers will lose 15% estate satisfaction because they're the 2 sides of this. Every location, which is either an urban location or at least 20% of the population is burghers, gains 15% population satisfaction, while up to 4 locations, which are neither a town or a city and have less than 20% of its population as burghers, will lose half its population satisfaction and join the Cod faction rebels. So they're the 2 sides of it. If you join the other side, side with the Cods, it's basically the same thing, but kind of flipped on its head. So this will give you 1 point of influence towards the Cods. It will make the burghers happier. It will make the nobility less happy. And then the opposite as well for the locations, as you can see on the screen as well. And then while this is active, you can see the disaster tooltip here. County of Holland gains crown power, -20%. estate satisfaction equilibrium minus 2.5%, monthly rebel growth plus 2%. Now this is very similar to the usual succession crisis disaster, which has been covered in a previous dev diary. But as you can see, this has a unique mechanic for this area, and that is that influence score. You've got to get 20 influence. The first one to hit that will basically win this, and then you'll continue on as your realm. So you can see in the next screenshot, this is the UI for the disaster as well. So you can see the Hook and Cod Wars, the country is Holland, obviously, and then end requirements. And then below that, it will link the factions that are active in this. Again, this was kind of forced through, so it's only showing one flag at the moment. It would usually list the people who have joined those two factions and showcase them for you. Below that, you can see each month there's a 20% chance of an event happening that is relevant to this event. And then also, obviously, an 80% chance that nothing would happen. But you can see how that would look. Obviously, when you're playing it in-game, once again, it will look slightly different because it will be working organically as you do campaign. But as they discussed there are some unique dynamic events that are linked to this. The first one here is Disobedience of the Dordrecht. Definitely how you pronounce that. The cities of Holland are seeing the current situation as basically a good chance to slip away from our control. You can pay the town off, or you can say grant the town more authority, and you can see you lose 33% control of that city. And then the cods also get an influence score. So as you're trying to get to 20, you might accept some of this. You might give away some control if you're trying to have the cods win this, or if you want the hooks to win it. Again, as you're playing this, do remember you're playing as the country of the Netherlands. You're not playing as the ruling dynasty, so it doesn't really matter which side wins. It's just what you're doing in your campaign. Maybe you want a more burger-focused one. Maybe you want one more focused on the nobles. Or maybe you want to play a historical campaign. Just really what happens in your campaign. You don't necessarily have to do it the historical way that this happened. You can just go with the flow and see what happens. And it ultimately doesn't matter who takes over when this finishes. The next event they're going to show us is Nobility Rebellion. The Cods have assembled a rebellion force in order to combat the Hooks. Many of the nobility see this as a chance to force some privileges from you. And you can see the outcome of this. Welcome the reinforcement of our cause. And you can see burghers lose 5% estate satisfaction. The Cods gain +1 influence score, again trying to get to that 20 number. And with that, that's the end of the Hook and Cod Wars in this dev diary. Let me know what you think about this. I like that they're going into these generic features and bringing flavorful versions. It's not crazy different to the standard version, but it is flavorful for this area. And I do like how they're adding these in, and I'm sure in the future we'll see much more of these as well. And then next they're going to show us some more events that can happen in the Netherlands. So the first one is the 5 Netherlands Admiralties. Our lands may be ruled by the Count, but the differences between our provinces have divided our Admiralty up. This factionalism between Groningen, Hoorn, Rotterdam, Middelburg and Amsterdam prevents us from unifying our navies. However, allowing them to pursue their own interests may actually help us in the future. Let us allow the admiralties to exist on their own, or you can choose to unify them into one navy. And you can see the outcome of the top option. This will cost you quite a lot of money, but each one of those areas will get their own special building, and you can see what they do in the next screenshot. So the Zeeland Admiralty, this will give you monthly sailors +10, can build ships here, yes. And then as you can see in the next screenshot, these are them getting constructed in the area once you select that option. And then I guess they have some special mechanics around these as well. If not, I guess maybe it's just a special building itself. I wish they'd gone into a little bit more information around this, but I guess we'll find out when we get to play as them in the game. The next event they're going to show us is Freedom of the Seas. Whilst the idea of free trade is no stranger to the Netherlands, the debates between protectionism and free trade have become more heated recently. And you can see this here. Let him finish it. Freedom of the trade is welcome here, and that will move your societal value towards free trade instead of mercantilism. And then this character will move to your country. He'll also make a work of art for you as well, the Mare Librum. The next event is around Rembrandt, obviously a very famous artist. This is all about hiring him into the country, or do you want to say he is not allowed here, we're not interested. In that blue background text, if you are new here today, that is a historical background for this event. Obviously Rembrandt, a very famous artist, and you can hire him if you do wish to do so. The next event is the Tale of Michael de Ruyter. Born as a commoner in Middelburg, Michael showed much talent from a very young age, working as a boatswain apprentice from the age of 11 and joining the army as an early adult as well. And then there are 3 options you can choose for this. We Low Franconian have been proud seafarers. We must protect the lands of the Netherlands with a stronger army. Or the last one, instead of asking this person, why don't we just employ him instead? So the top 2 options, I imagine one gives you navy tradition, the second one gives you army tradition maybe, some other bonuses probably as well. And then the third one, you might get some bonuses, but also this character will join your realm and be available to you later on. So you could make him an admiral or put him in the cabinet if you do wish to do so. The next event is going to be the Father of Microbiology. As science develops, so does our knowledge of our surroundings. Many wish to pursue further knowledge and have started to attend university, and this is based around a famous microbiologist from Amsterdam. And you can see in that blue text again, historically, who this person was. And then the top option, we will spare the funds to aid this field of microbiology. I guess this person probably joins you. Maybe this will start a university building that's a little bit cheaper than usual. And then you'll get that in Amsterdam, I would imagine. We'll see when we get to play it, obviously. And then the other option, this does not belong in the Netherlands. If you just want to say, no, we're not interested in this, and maybe you don't have the money to fund it, something along those lines, and you don't want to take out a loan maybe to do so. And then the last event they're going to show us hinting towards a bigger story for the Netherlands in the game based around historical events is a glorious plot. This is the current ruler. He is seen as not being too great. He is seen as an oppressor of the people more and more these days. And there have been murmurs, many murmurs in fact, that somebody else is plotting to take over in his place. And you can see a plot against the Count. We must stop them. Do you want to stop them? It's going to be up to you in your campaigns. Again, everything we see in these dev diaries, you don't have to do what happened historically. Some of them, as you can see here, there's only one option, but then there'll be follow-up events where you get to choose. Do you want this plot to be successful? Do you want to play out what historically happened? But with that, guys, that's the end of the dev diary this week. Let me know what you think about it. It's cool seeing these formable nations where different ones can form it, and that will play out slightly differently because you'll have the different reforms. You'll have the different advances. If you play as Holland or Flanders, you're going to have these different bonuses at the start, and that's going to change how it plays through, even if you're playing as the same country. So let me know in the comments what you think about this. Are you going to play as the Netherlands in one of your first campaigns? I think they're going to be very fun to play as, especially a trading nation. And then at the end, they're going to talk about what we're going to see next week. So on Wednesday, we're going to see the revolution and how that plays out in the game. On Thursday, we're getting a developer diary on diplomacy and influence. And then on Friday, a Tinto Flavor on Austria. Obviously, a lot of historical things happened in Austria in this time frame. So it's going to be really cool to see what they've got going on. So let me know what you think in the comments. Hit that like button if you haven't already. And do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. I cover all the news around EU5. I'll be live streaming it when it comes out. And I also cover Crusader Kings 3 in a very similar manner. But we'll leave it there for now. And I'll see you all next time.